This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Spiritual Psychic with Sarah Wiseman, where you'll learn how to unlock the secrets of spiritual intuition and your own psychic gifts. Here's Sarah.
Hey guys, it's Sarah Wiseman. I wanted to talk to you today about working with the moon for spiritual awakening and expansion. And I call this practice, we're calling it MOONSTROLOgy just for fun. So some of you know a little bit about my past. I spent many years living in the forests of Oregon, and this was the time that I started to become aware of the moon. Before that, when I was younger and I lived in the city, I lived in Seattle, I didn't really think about the moon hardly at all. At most, I kind of thought it was this, pleasant or pretty or mysterious or powerful or something I might notice in this kind of detached way, like someone looking at a painting in a museum. And so, I might say, I'd be looking at the moon back then. I'd say, what a pretty moon. Or maybe I'd feel this kind of pleasant sort of relaxation or awareness. But it wasn't really a personal connection back then. It all felt kind of distant, as if the moon were a thing outside of me, or I was a thing outside of nature. We weren't yet connected to each other. I hadn't yet learned that the moon was and is a conscious force, always communicating with me and with all of us. And I certainly didn't know how to communicate back. The moon had not yet spoken to my soul. So, life goes on, and living in the forest certainly changed me. It changed my relationship to nature, and it also changed my relationship to the moon. And so for 16 years, I lived not just with some trees, we kind of think there's a tree, it's a thing, but living in the midst of thousands of trees, fir and pine, maple, oak, yew. And I lived side by side with these great tree families, grandfathers and grandmothers of species who'd settled here for hundreds of years, maybe, thousands of years before people came, and living together in this steadfast and supportive group in groves, and copses, and forests. So I also lived side by side with nature, the natural world of plants, but also the animal and insect world. And I began to see differently and to sense differently in that time. If you've lived in the country for any period of time, you know that your awareness starts to change. Your eyes become accustomed to the smallest shifts in the environment. So where you once gazed upon a field and kind of had this feeling of field, I'm from the city, there's a field. And now you instantly spot this flicker of a scampering field mouse or a little bird flitting in the grass. And you sense this glorious medley. That's all the grasses and flowers and thistles together. And whereas you once looked at a forest to the unaccustomed or untrained eye, and you just thought forest, now you see individual entities. So multiple generations of the same species living together for hundreds, thousands of years. And you instantly spot the owl hidden in the branch above, because your eyes or your senses, it's not just your eyes, have become accustomed to the slightest differentiation in color, shadow, and movement. And you can look at the sight line of a hill, and immediately, whereas in the past you might see nothing, now you can see the coyote in the distance staring back at you. There's this awareness. It's not just your sight, it's your sixth sense, the awareness of every being as one. And this brings about this awareness that there is no generic in the natural world. The natural world is not a painting. It's not an Instagram picture. It's real, and it's teeming with life and consciousness. And so soon it's not just the plant world and the animal world that you're noticing. The weather world also starts to speak with you with more emotion and feeling than maybe you thought possible or maybe you thought existed. You become intimately acquainted with the way the wind tears over the hill in a wintry rage and how it croons in soft summer delight. You begin to feel the changes in weather well before the seasons announce themselves. You feel it in your own body and in your own etheric body because your body has begun to synchronize with the bigger body of Gaia and of the planet. And of course, you begin to notice the planets and the stars as they dance their ever-changing promenade, and you also begin to connect to the moon. Now, the moon is our closest heavenly body. It's a constant cosmic companion to Earth and the only one which revolves around us. We can't see the new moons, but we can sense their shifting energy as we enter and leave the astrological signs. So the moon helps us feel our emotions as we cycle through the signs of the zodiac. So with the new moon, there's always a feeling of beginning, of excitement, of the possibility that begins to build with us. There's kind of a longing to claim what we want and a yearning for what we're hoping to create. And then with the full moon, which is of course very visible to us, sometimes big and bright enough to even be kind of frightening, waking us up in the middle of the night or startling us as we come over a hill, we feel the passing of what has been, or the knowing that we are moving through different stages thanks to influences far greater than us. The moon, new or full, or all the phases in between, because there's lots of other phases, calls to each of us. Every person on this planet has gazed upon the moon and felt the deep divine magnetism of its mystery. And whether we live in forest or city, north or south hemisphere, the moon is there. We see it all. We all see it. We're all affected by it. We're all part of this dance. And nowadays, as in ancient times, many of us are learning how to realign our lives and cycle with the moon and to become intimately aligned with this emotional and astrological weather. So in my own experience during those early months of living in the forest, when I was new, when I just moved there, I started this practice of setting intention at new moon and releasing at full moon. And it was truly wonderful to step outside with the trees as my witness and the weather as my accompaniment and do this practice. And now, even though I'm living in a different place, I haven't stopped my practice. It kind of doesn't matter where you are. Like I'm in a town outside of Portland, Oregon, or maybe I'd be at the Great Pyramids in Egypt or on a rooftop in Havana. So these are all places I've witnessed the moon energy. But wherever I am and wherever any of us are, the moon is always there, and it's our cosmic companion again, revolving around Gaia, the earth, and encouraging us to feel deeply into our time on this planet, to revere our lives and to celebrate with intention and ritual as time moves forward. So If you are working with the moon, again, what can be most helpful is to work with the two most powerful spiritual phases, which are the new moon and the full moon. As you become aware of the new and full moons in your life, you will find yourself becoming more spiritually clear, which also means more psychically clear. You set intention at new moon using the influence of the sign the moon is entering, and you release at full moon using the influence of the sign the moon is leaving. Now, everyone on the planet, whether they're aware of the moon or not, or working with the moon or not, will visit 12 signs, and so sometimes there's more, depending on the actual dates, in both the cycle of beginning and releasing over the course of the year. So you'll visit 12 zodiac signs, the whole zodiac. So that means in a year's time, you're going to have journeyed through a complete astrological cycle. It's beautiful to work with the moon in this way, to see how your life changes and how you change with it over the course of a year of moon cycles. If you want to go deeper into this and kind of work with the exact dates of the new and full moons in your life, just go to sarahwiseman.com, then go to courses, and then go to the MOONSTROLOGY project. It's a wonderful practice, and I'm very excited to have you enjoy it. Thank you.